Hey, everybody, it's Tony Jackson with US Power Soccer, and you are about to watch the Champions Conference final match from 2019 at the Turnstone Center. And so we're going to talk to a couple folks who were in that match, joining us right now from the PRHC Chariots, Troy and Andrew Trapetta, and then from Atlanta Sting, Zach Dickey. Guys, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
For sure, yeah. Glad to be here.
So we're going to talk about the game a little bit. That weekend in Turnstone was wild because there were so many overtime games, and there were actually two overtime championship games. The President's Conference, which featured the San Jose Flash and Wisconsin Warriors, and then your game also went into overtime. So let's talk about the match for a second. This game was scoreless through 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Chapetta's, you probably hadn't played Sting with Zach Dickey before. I mean, you guys have been playing for a long time. Can you talk about what it was like to play Sting? They have him in Eggleston and, a few other folks, Tandon Dorji, who used to play in Vermont, who you and I both know very well. Can you talk about that for a minute, playing them for the first time like that?
Playing them for the first time it was pretty tough. Like, Zach controlling the middle of the court and having Kyle and then the other players lined up in the perfect spots to get our team out of position. But I think our team went into that game locked in on defense. Yeah, for me, it's the same with what Troy said. It was difficult because it was a new team. We never played them before. And Zach is really good at controlling the court and making sure his players are in the right spots, right positions to score. It was pretty tough playing him on defense. But I feel like once we kind of felt out the team, we got, I think, more. We played much better in the second half than the first half against them.
And Zach, so I mean, you probably have not seen very much of the Chapetta twins out there on the court, even though I think a lot of people, to be fair, haven't seen you guys out a lot because you play in New England and don't travel very much. The only time we see you for the most part is at nationals. I remember seeing you guys for the first time in 2013 in Minnesota, a long time ago. So Zach, this is the first time you played them, correct?
It is, yeah.
What was that like?
Yeah, so they're both obviously great defenders. And when you, as an athlete, you kind of try and find the weakest link on the court and attack them, especially in the box. And usually that's either the goalie or the defender, and there wasn't one. And so they were just on total lockdown the whole game. I was frustrated. with my teammates, and I'm frustrated with myself. We just felt like we could get nothing going. But it was just kind of a humbling experience because, again, I had never seen these guys before. So I came in with an attitude that I was just going to wreck them. But they didn't let me do that. They pushed me around a lot. They frustrated me. I mean, they're both on the U.S. team now, so obviously I underestimated them. But, yeah, they definitely proved me wrong and came in and taught me a good Boston lesson,
So let's talk about towards the end of the second half for a moment, because as I had mentioned earlier, this game ended in regular time scoreless. Troy and Andrew, let's start with you guys. I mean, you guys are trading punches back and forth the entire match. So what were you guys thinking? Because, I mean, as you said, Zach was really kind of controlling the offense and moving down the floor. As time was winding down, what's going through your head?
What was going through my head was we had to figure out how to space him out, get him away from the ball, and get those angles of the passing angles and the spaces. And we were trying to do that, but he just read it so good that we couldn't get past him. Yeah, for me, I was thinking more offense. We had it down on defense. We locked down on defense, but there was no offensive play. So I was thinking we need to create more offensive opportunities up there to try to score on them. Yeah, so that's when Virgil decided to move. Andrew had the goalie vest on, but he was playing up. So we had the three best players playing up the court to create that offense.
And Zach, so now for you, when that happened, when you saw Andrew come out of the goal area, but still with the vest on to come in a more attacking position, what are you thinking at that point? Because I mean, the game's on the line. If they score, you're done.
Mm. So I'm extremely confident in Tandon as a goalie in the back. Like I have total faith in him. So what I see is more of an offensive read is I'm ready to put the ball in the hole. They're coming out in a situation that I'm hoping they're uncomfortable in because they haven't had much pressure all tournament. And so they're bringing someone out that they might not be as comfortable with in the front, and then whoever they're leaving back in the goal. And so I'm just hoping to get out of this game with a quick goal, go home, like be able to celebrate. But again, they were able to play with a lot of composure, even though they made that last minute change, and we weren't able to get anything in before the end of regulation.
So now you've played 40 minutes. Zach, can you take us into the Sting huddle for a moment? You've seen each other, you've taken each other's best shots. What's the game plan at that point, or did it even change?
I gotta be honest, at huddles like that, towards the end of the game, I pretty much black out. There's nothing around me. It's just me, and then it's not like I wasn't thinking strategy that I can remember. I wasn't sharing strategy. I was just like, let's go. And I could see something a little crazy in Kyle's eyes, which had me kind of excited. Kyle Eggleston just had something. You saw it, Chipetta Twins. There was something crazy in his eyes. Kyle wasn't going to lose this game. And so that's about it that I really remember. I'm sure Coach Eggleston had a brilliant strategy marked up, but I can't tell you that I remember it or that I would listen, to be honest with you.
Sorry, Coach. All right, so Troy and Andrew, take us into the Chariots huddle. Virgil talking strategy, or is he just trying to get your heads right, ready to go for this overtime?
He was trying to get our heads right because, like, I was all over the place, like, trying to think strategy. And he's like, just calm down, go out there, take a breath, and just regroup. But like Zach said, at that point, I'm blacked out. I don't hear anyone. It's just my teammates. That's it. Yeah, same with me. I was more nervous because I was playing goalie still, and that's tough when someone scores a goal on you and to win a championship game. So I was focused in just playing defense and helping our team win.
So we go through the overtime periods. Sting finally get a goal.
That's that crazy thing in Kyle's eye that I saw. When you look at that film, Kyle just takes the ball coast to coast, and there's a little I don't know if you're a big basketball fan, but when Michael Jordan, a little push off to get the game-winning basket over the Jazz, there's a little bit of a shove on the goal line that the Chipetta Twins are still upset about. But Kyle went, got the job done, forced the referee to make a call, and the referee didn't make a call. That was that craziness in Kyle's eyes. He played in that second half, like, for as young of a kid as Kyle is, like, I didn't have those kind of huevos when I was his age. The kid just took over and just, like, that's why we won that game, is because Kyle decided he was going to score and took it to the hoop, man.
And so, Andrew, you just mentioned a few moments ago that as the goalkeeper, that's a very tough position to be in because it's ultimately, at the end, it's up to you to keep the ball out, right? And so you can't control what the referee does and how they judge at that point. So when they score that goal, what are you thinking?
Well, at that point, I made a decision and I moved up and I put Will behind in the goal, and I moved up to play more defense on Zach to keep him away from the box. And I feel like that's when the game got out of control on defense, and the goal happened.
So at that point, guys, Sting scores again. They score another goal. Do you feel like you can still pull back in? Because in the overtime periods, you only have 10 minutes, and now you're down 2-0. Do you still feel like you can pull it back, or does the intensity start to fade a little bit because you're thinking, oh no, we're down 2-0 now?
at that point, my intensity got a little higher. Like I was like, this game's not over yet. We still got time. Let's get our composure. Let's calm down and try to get a goal in. And then we actually did score a goal. We got one goal in when Andrew dragged Zach all the way up the court and pushed that ball across the line. And it was 2-1, and we're like scrambling to get that ball back on that line and trying to get that quick second goal.
Zach, for you, so Andrew grabs you, and you know where you're heading, right? Like you're heading down the floor at that point. Um, as he's dragging you down the floor and he scores, and now the score is 2-1, which we all know is the most dangerous score in soccer,
Yeah.
right? What are you thinking at that point? I mean, there's still time left in the game for them to score.
Mm-hmm. So really my read was just kind of a bet on myself once we went up 2. Kyle set me up with that perfect pass, and I was able to put it in the right spot. But my read was, if I hold this ball and let them dribble and I don't pass and I just lock it up, they could score on me. They might score on me once, but they're not going to score on me twice. Just like again, used to play wheelchair basketball as well. It's a basketball strategy. You make the possession as long as possible and kind of ensure that you don't make any stupid mistakes. And so I wasn't passing. I wasn't doing anything. I decided to lock it up. And I was just going to kind of take a bet on myself that they weren't going to push me across the line twice. I was hoping they wouldn't score at all. But they ended up, again, I kind of underestimated the Chipetta twins, and they took me to the goal.
And for you guys, Chipetta is out there in New England. It's interesting. Can you talk to me for a moment about like the climb up to where you are now? I mean, both teams, you're going to the Premier Conference next season, which is, the goal for every team that plays, right? And you guys have been doing this for a long time, and you started at the very bottom and over the years worked your way up to this point. Can you guys talk about that for a moment?
Yeah, as you know, our team started in Founders, and we did move our way up I think it was probably every season we won until we got up to the Premier League. I think the Champions League was tough, but we overcame that and got to the Premier. But it's been a tough journey, hard, a lot of training, a lot of practicing, and building chemistry with just our team.
So now that you both are all moving on to the Premier Conference, Zach, you've played there before. I mean, you were with RHI Sudden Impact with your brother Jordan and your sister Katie. So you've been there before, and you kind of know what to expect already. But what are the challenges for you now? Because this is going to be the first time for the other players who have never been to that level of competition. How are you helping them prepare for this?
Well, I mean, really, it's how I learned. I went to practice against Jordan my whole life, and I got beat up in practice. I just got destroyed one-on-one every time. And that's how you learn. You get beat by other better players. And so what I'm there for is just my goal for the Sting, obviously a national championship, return Atlanta to its former glory. But also I don't want to leave that team as the best player. I want Kyle to take over. I want to be that sidekick to Kyle because he's got it, man. There's just something with that kid. He's the future of the sport. And then there's also just a ton of young talent there. I had 3 options when I moved to Auburn that were all equidistant for teams. I had the Shepherd and Lakeshore and Sting, and I chose pretty much based on Kyle and the young guys on that team. I wanted to help grow that program. I wanted to leave a legacy, and I want to, again, leave that team as a sidekick to Kyle because I think he's just got it. So really, Kyle's ready for it. I'm excited to see what he's going to do in the Premier Cup. Yeah,
it's interesting to see Kyle because he started playing when he was around 8, 9,
probably.
maybe. And I remember seeing him the first time, and I just remember thinking you could see how much he loved the competition, and you can see what it meant to him. And being able to see him progress over the years and just steadily get better and better and better. I mean, you are right. I mean, he is the future, but I mean, the future is pretty much here. Right?
Yeah, no, exactly. I fully expect Kyle to surpass me in skill in the next couple of years, and I'm excited for it.
And for you guys, Troy and Andrew, I mean, what are you all doing to prepare for that? And before you answer, you guys are on Team USA, so you guys are now seeing what top
Yep.
level competition is really like. So I guess 2 questions for you. How are you and your team preparing for the Premier Conference, and how has your Team USA training helped you get there?
So the USA training it's been tough, but we've got a taste of what the Premier League's gonna be like. Even like playing against Jordan, Zach, playing against Michael Archer, it's tough, but we're learning their speed of play. So what we do is when we come back to our home team, we kind of have like run practice kind of like they do, just to get them on the same speed we're playing on. Yeah, the same for me. It's humbling playing on Team USA because all those players are all the best players in the world, and playing against all those players is humbling because they're just really good at the sport. And when we come back on our club team, we talk about like how we practice there, how what we're doing, like how the speed of the game. Once you get to Premier level, it's different than any of the other levels. It's fast paced and there's a lot of scoring and a lot of defense.
Well, that's pretty much all I have. I want to thank Troy and Andrew Tripetta from the PRHC Chariots in Canton, Mass, for joining us, and Zach Dickey from Atlanta Sting for joining us.
For sure. Thanks for having us.
Guys, it's been a pleasure. For all of you watching at home, you are about to watch a fantastic match between the PRHC Chariots and Atlanta Sting. So sit back and enjoy, and we will see you for the Premier Conference final later on. Thank you.